Yippee-Ki-Yay, Mother.
Welcome to the party, pal.
Welcome to Yippee-Ki-Yay Classic. All right, guys, we got a special one tonight, and I'm going to launch right into it, and Wojo let you know what's going on. So, hey, Wojo, take it away.
Okay, hi, everybody. We've got two special guests this week. I'd like to introduce you to Wyatt McDill and Megan Huber. Wyatt is the writer and director of the movie we're talking about this week called 3-Day Weekend, and Megan is a producer on that film, and it just so happens they're also married. So welcome.
That's
Thanks
why they're
for coming.
sharing a square like all our married couples do. They all share a square. That's right. Wojo, how did you meet these guys? How did this happen?
I was on the social media. He'll cut that. Wyatt reached out to me on Twitter, and I have a bazillion Twitter followers because I've built that up. And he sent me a private message and asked if he could be on the podcast. And I said, "Are you sure?" And he said, "Yeah." And then he followed. I have to say, you were diligent, which was great because we had so much going on. And you followed up a couple times and said, "Hey, just letting you know I'm here." And so a couple weeks ago, Brad and I watched the film, and I brought it up to the rest of the cast here, and they were good with it. And then Brad and I watched it again. So we've seen your film twice now.
Wow, cool.
6-day weekend?
So I'm going to ask, yeah, exactly. 6-day weekends. So now I'll have twice as many questions to ask, which may or may not be a good thing.
Okay.
So Wyatt, why don't you guys give a quick little description of the film, and then we'll dive into the trailer, and then we'll launch into all our questions and, stuff, behind the scenes stuff. About
I want to hear you describe this film.
Well, we just wanted to, when you make independent films, you got to you've got to make it interesting with the writing because you don't have big stars and you don't have big budgets. So I just kind of wanted to make a movie that I'd like to watch, something that makes you think and leaves it up to the viewer to fill in some of the blanks. And there's always a practical side to it too, so, one location or one kind of area was key. And in film school, there's an adage, tell a story, show a story, don't tell it. So we just took that to the extreme with this. There's no dialogue. So that was kind of the beginning of it.
And the story itself is about a camper, a guy who lives in the city who broke up with his girlfriend and wants to get away from it all. So he drives and drives and drives to the middle of nowhere to go camping and stumbles across something that he has no idea what's going on, some crazy stuff happening in the woods.
All right, let me jump into the trailer. And then
What the hell's going on? Isn't that what they say throughout the whole movie? What the hell's going on? I said that about 10 times. Honest to God.
let me ask you guys, how do you feel about spoilers? Do you want us to spoil or not spoil?
I think it's spoiler is fine.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think spoilers.
Let's do it.
So
Let's
we'll let everybody know we're going to spoil this. So,
okay. Yeah.
If you haven't watched the movie, hit pause, go watch the damn movie, and then come back.
Yep.
We'll wait.
Yeah.
You're here.
You know, I didn't
How many
see
minutes
the
is the movie again?
Go ahead. What?
How many minutes is the movie? Because if we're going to wait, I just kind of I got something in the oven.
Grab a
Don't burn
sandwich.
it.
Yeah.
I didn't see the trailer before I watched the film, and I think if I had seen the trailer first, some things would have made a little more sense. I love the film. I enjoyed the film. I want someone else to dive in and start talking. Well, Joe, why don't you start since it was the Twitter.
We watched it twice. I'll tell you what I really liked about it. I'm big. One of my favorite movies is Run Lola Run. And I also like Memento because I like when films play with the concept of time or point of view. And the first time we were watching this, I remember looking at Brad and saying, wait, what's going on? Oh, they're telling it through this person's point of view. And doing that, I thought, I just like that in a movie, period. So to be able to kind of start to try and figure things out, because they always, there's an adage, there are three sides to every story, yours, theirs, and the truth. So what actually happened? What was going on? Who was doing what? And I really liked how in fact, I got chills, which I call the chill factor, which means there's something to it. So, or I'm just cold. But I really liked the end, which I won't completely spoil, but I liked how what you thought was going on was not what was going on. And I just, the first time we watched it, I was kind of stunned. What really attracted me to the movie when you got in touch with me was you said there's no dialogue. And it's something that I've wanted to write about when John Krasinski did A Quiet Place, and having to deal with no dialogue. I have a friend who was a sound person in TV and movies. And he would tell me about, how they finally got a kiss sound in this particular movie. And it wasn't people kissing. You know what I mean? It was like a couple sound people kissing their arms with this echo, all this kind of stuff. Yeah. So I like thinking about the different elements of a movie. So that's what intrigued me. That's one of the things that got me to say, okay, I want to watch this because I want to see how he pulls this off with no dialogue. And I think it was, I liked it. I like things that confuse the hell out of you at certain times. And then watching the second part, oh, John, stop.
I was agreeing.
I'm kidding.
Yeah, I mean, I like a challenging story too. And, I always love the first third of a movie. That's always my favorite part of a movie, when a movie's getting more and more convoluted and confusing and the plot is thickening. And then it's always like, oh, the last third, it's like, oh yeah, we gotta sit here we all know what's going to happen. We got to go through the motions. So that was kind of the goal, was to like disassemble the parts and, tell it in an order where the last part, it would be confusing all the way to the very end. So.
Well, you succeeded on that, because we kept, and I don't mean that in a bad way. We just kept thinking, wait a minute. Well, what just happened? And yeah. How long did it take you to write?
It took me about 6 months. So I have a little head start on you guys when you go for the gotcha questions, like, but what about the, but yeah, I kind of noodled on it for 6 months and just tried to make sure that it only works if it works, So I think like you have to trust us as filmmakers and storytellers that we sort of thought of everything. Otherwise it's just a big bowl of spaghetti and you're like, who cares? But it hopefully fits together.
We've watched a few of those on here.
I think the thing about the writing was that Wyatt did not originally write this as no dialogue, but there was so little dialogue that he went back and tried to piece it together in such a way that we could figure out any conversation with the characters.
How long was the final script?
It's very short. It was 49 pages, which is, it's usually a minute per page. So a movie is 120, but because it was all action description, which is really like the most difficult thing to shoot.
Did you shoot it with the dialogue that you wrote, or did you go back? You just determine later that you were just going to shoot it the way it ended with not a lot of dialogue?
The dialogue was never endingly missing because we shot it with no dialogue, but it's really weird. But when you the way that a movie is structured is basically around dialogue. It's shot, reverse shot. And so when you take the dialogue out, you have no shot, reverse shot. Like we had to go. I mean, that's why I love film, is because every story has to be told in a unique way.
Yeah.
But we really spent a lot of time scratching our heads and thinking we can't do shot, reverse shot because no one's saying anything. So do we still do a master shot? Do we?
Yeah.
And so that's where we started determined to have the camera for the most part over the shoulder of the character. So you're really experiencing what the character is experiencing in the story, but you're not experiencing anything. There's no omniscient point of view. You don't know anything that the character doesn't know.
Let me ask you this: Will you create a 4-hour version that goes on HBO Max with the talking in there and all the other?
Ralph, they already took a 49-page script and made it 78 minutes, so I think he's done that already. I don't think that's a fair question.
Yeah.
That's interesting, though. The idea that you don't have protection, there's no exposition. Somebody doesn't explain what's going on. You can't fake your way. You can't write your way with words out of a scene. So that's tough. That's going to be difficult. I know Drew had some questions about the writing and the process, right, Drew? You wanted to ask something about?
I have lots of questions, but
I know.
But let me first say I really enjoyed the movie. I like movies that are really, really ambitious, and an independent movie that you don't have Snyder cut budget and you pull it off is very impressive. So I really commend you for doing that. I kind of felt like I was watching Rashomon without dialogue. But you snuck in the fact that it was Rashomon, so I didn't really know. That's the desired effect. I didn't really know what was going on. So for part of the movie, especially with the two safes and all that kind of stuff, I wasn't sure if I was watching something supernatural, if I was watching a time loop, and that was good. I like that. I like movies that I don't know exactly, that are dislocating, Coherence and The Endless, and those are all, those are smaller movies that are really ambitious and succeed. So I think that's really kind of an incredible achievement just by itself. But then I also have a lot of questions just about behind the scenes stuff, and I'll ask you one. What's it like working together as a married couple? Because you do see that in Hollywood. You see, the Snyders, you see Robert King and Michelle King, you see people doing that. And I have a wife, and we haven't worked together, but I wonder, that either is the kind of thing that really is amazing or really doesn't work. And how does that work for you guys?
I think both. Sometimes it's amazing and sometimes it really doesn't work.
I wonder, because isn't it a dynamic that the producer is the money, right? The money, and the director's always wanting to do more. We got to shoot this, we got to shoot that. And the producer's like, we don't have the money. And then there might be a little conflict there, maybe.
It's inherently a relationship that plays two different sides of the filmmaking process. So you have that built-in conflict. Yeah. And then also, I will say Wyatt is a very practical director. So he writes practically and is open for problem solving. So that's great. But the tough part is when you can't get away from the movies. It's like morning, noon, and night. It's fine during the shoot and it's fine for part of the edit. But when you're talking about 3-day weekend, 24/7, unless you're sleeping, you're like, well, I need a break. You need someone on the side that you can talk to about where to go for dinner or something.
Because filmmaking is all, it's all consuming. And it's almost like having a really bad drug habit. You love it, but it just overwhelms you too, because it's so much work and there's so many dimensions to it. You were saying, Sean. So, and then it does allow us, though we know each other so well and we know how we work. It does allow us, if we try to work with other people, or when we have worked with other people, we anticipate sort of each other and the work and what's possible. Mm-hmm. Right. So I think it helps us be able to produce a better movie for the money. So
Definitely. Yeah.
Well,
Like,
you're protecting each other a little bit too, I bet. I mean, there must
Yeah.
be, you know,
Yeah.
there's a lot of stuff that goes on sets that can be to pull people apart and cause some
Yeah.
looks and all kinds of stuff that,
yeah,
you know, you guys have each other's back.
we're almost like two producers on the set, I think.
Yeah,
because,
that's good.
You know, you're always on the edge of existential like chaos when you're doing an independent film. It's like, you know, it's like having a dinner party for 12 people on the deck of a ship in the middle of a typhoon always.
It's always something.
Have any of you guys read The Devil's Candy? It's a fantastic book about making
Bonfire of the Vanities.
Bonfire of the Vanities.
No, I didn't read that.
But anyway, the director, whatever his
Brian
name
De Palma.
is, Brian De Palma, he says that movies are war, and it's true when you're shooting, as you know, Sean. It's like everything always goes wrong. So.
Well, and you're getting pulled in like it's financial pull and creative pull, and sometimes you got people looking at you probably thinking you don't know what you're doing, and you're getting questioned, and you know, it's a constant struggle. I mean, I've done TV commercials. I haven't done a film myself, which is why anybody that does films, it's amazing you get anything on the screen. That's always a big. It is because it's hard work. It's super hard work. So, John, sitting there in the corner, you're in my left corner. What, you have anything you want to throw in before we inundate them with questions about the film?
Well, I wish I saw the trailer before I watched the movie, because I would have paid a lot more attention to the clues that you were giving. Because in hindsight, I'm going, okay. But I will tell you this. First of all, I'm amazed at anyone that gets a film made. So kudos to that. And you won me over. I wasn't sure about this movie, but you won me over when the guy was trying to put up the tent. That was so spot on. And I'm like, oh my God, this is so real. And I'll tell you that I had some issues with the movie a little bit, but I liked it because it just kept you in it the whole time. You're just trying to figure out what's going on. Yeah. That alone, I really enjoyed because it kept my attention the whole time. So I really appreciate that. And I did want to ask you, how much handheld did you do in this? Did you do a lot of handheld? Because it sure looked that way.
I think
the Easy Rig, our DP was, he worked hard because he wore that, you know, they were long shoot days. We were outside every day except for like one afternoon. And he had that thing hanging over his.
Because it looked like all the running and everything. It looked like you were shooting it all with that. And did you shoot it in Minnesota?
We did, yeah.
Minnesota.
Funny story.
We looked everywhere. You know, it's one location, so we were looking everywhere for a place at the lake that had a sandy bottom with no cabins, which turned out to be impossible. But I remembered when I was a kid, my parents worked at this summer camp and they ran the candy store. So I called that camp and they let us. It was just after.
Dropped off when you were talking about how you found the location, the candy store, and then I missed all the after that. So if you,
I thought you could hear everything.
Like, no, I'm saying once I go back and look at the recording, it records everything that I don't know how it does it, but it keeps recording.
Oh, great.
So if you guys are good, we can keep rolling. So
yeah, we're good. We're good.
All right, great.
So how many days did you shoot?
I think it was 17 days.
Oh,
it was,
wow.
It was pretty jam-packed. Everyone landed, you know, we flew in our talent from LA, all of our actors flew in, they drove up, we were about 4 hours north of Minneapolis, so they drove 4 hours, and then we were there for about 3 weeks. Yeah, so it was a jam-packed 17 days.
And were you guys all like, you have RVs and you camped out at that place for the 17 days? So everybody's together the whole time, or?
Everyone was together. It was the camp counselor cabins.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
Meatballs.
Yeah, so everyone had to share cabins, you know, it was, I don't know. Some people had 5 people on the couch. I think it was really fun. It wasn't super fun for us because we were like up all night trying to figure out. For everyone else, you know, there's a sauna there, so they go to the sauna and jump in the lake. And
What time of year were you guys shooting? Did I miss that?
September.
Okay.
Yeah, two of the people on the movie got married. They met on the film.
Oh.
And if you were younger, it seemed like you had a lot of fun on our film. But for us, we didn't really have taking care of business. So
Any Camp Crystal Lake? Anybody do any Friday the 13th pranks or anything like that? No?
I had to go to bed the last night because everybody was drinking so much after we wrapped, and then it was the lake, and I was worried somebody was going to get hurt or whatever.
Oh, so just go to sleep and not worry about it?
So instead of trying to control it, you went to bed.
Ignorance is bliss.
Oh, my goodness. I just two quick geeky questions. You mentioned the rig that the person had for the shooting. What did you guys edit this on?
Carlos
Adobe.
Lamas, yeah.
Adobe
Premiere? Okay.
Yeah.
Premiere.
That's our thing. I just want to know that. Anybody round of questions or anything? Anybody?
Well, you talked about having the people at the dinner party on the boat. One thing that I did not expect in the movie, because especially when I'm told that this movie has a mystery to it, I don't want to read anything about it. I don't want to see anything about it. I want to experience it. I love the movie These Final Hours. So Nathan Phillips appearing in this movie was like a really nice surprise. Like, he's a wonderful actor. That's an amazing movie, and he was great in this movie. How did you find the cast for this movie? Because this has got to be an unusual script to send out, and actors are looking for certain scenes, certain dialogue, things like that. Like, how did that work? How did you convince people? Because you clearly have something to offer actors, but it doesn't look like what they're usually expecting, I guess.
Yeah, well, we have a great casting person here in LA, Beth Holmes, and she knows what we're trying to do. Morgan, the main character is pretty funny. He's kind of this clueless doof from the city. So Morgan came in, and I think we just got him like that because he was funny, and I don't know, casting, it's kind of like alchemy. You just
Yeah.
The way we do it is we kind of try to find people that seem like the person in the movie.
I mean, do you have an image in your head when you're writing that person? Is there an actor you're thinking about as you're writing it, or?
No, there wasn't. Well, maybe, we had a film we made a couple years before this one called 4 Boxes. And our friend Sam Rosen is in that. And I was kind of thinking of him when I wrote it. This is a character that kind of ends up in a lot of my movies. It's just like a clueless doof who wanders through all of this stuff going on over here and over there and doesn't know what's going on. So Morgan was a great fit, and then he, he's on the show In the Dark now too. So his talent is being recognized since we made the film. So, and then who else?
Yeah, Nathan was a friend of a friend too, that Wyatt was introduced to, and we needed someone that had that sort of scary energy.
I was gonna say he's a scary person.
Yeah, exactly. And he was so into it. Like, he got his hair cut for it. I was super involved in his wardrobe.
Which person is that? Is that the dude with the tattoo on his face, or the other guy?
Yeah,
okay, with the gun strapped to his
Schnapsy.
Yeah, so he was fantastic, and same with Scott McDonald. He was in Jarhead and just has this sort of big presence. There's an actor.
He was very intimidating.
Yeah.
Isn't he?
Yeah.
I know.
Very creepy.
For sure.
Yeah, he definitely was creepy. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then Maya Soyan, she was amazing. We did a lot of casting. I think for that role was the most challenging to fill. Number one, because of the deaf, sign language, having to know sign, and she did know sign language. We had other hearing impaired actors that we brought in for that. Some had scheduled, some didn't have the physicality to, it's such a physical role.
Sure.
So we really needed someone that could ride an ATV and look like they belong there. And she was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Talking about the physicality. So what were the challenges? I'm assuming it was more challenging to direct people with little to no dialogue. Like, what were the differences in?
The big challenge is casting, because if you get good people, then they can tell that story with their face, and if they can't do it, then you're screwed. But I think we got a lot of great people, and we just kind of let them go. I'm trying to think. Like, it was cool. This happens on some of our other films too, which is always happy outcome. But they would, on the van ride up from Minneapolis, you know, the people in the movie that are friendly in the movie kind of, you know, started hanging out with each other. And so the personalities of the actual actors sort of like worked out in the movie. So, but yeah, that's kind of our thing, is like, you know, get a great location that you don't got to, you know, edit out this or that, and get good people that you don't have to like try to get a Meryl Streep, you know, change your stripes all the way. And then, you know, just try to apply the light hand. So.
Yeah. And I think the great thing, they really trust Wyatt, you know, like I think the script, it's a smart movie as far as like the way all the pieces fit together. And I think everyone that read it really respected that. And so then Wyatt has that trust to be able to work with them and bring out their best performances.
Did you have, like in Tenet, when they show the behind the scenes of Tenet, there was walls of just how everything related and why this is happening over here. Did you guys have a wall of telling the actor, well, this is what happened, this is what you have to do? And you know, was any of that, or does everybody just kind of figure it out and you guys are going with it?
Nobody figured it out. They just acted. Where are we?
They just trusted you that you would all come out.
Wyatt, this was way better than Tenet.
Yeah, it's
way better.
100%.
Yes, it is.
I mean,
we haven't seen it, but I do.
Yeah, don't waste your time.
The film that you do want, I mean, one thing to say is you do want to hang through to see what the hell went on. What was going on? Why did I watch this? It's very satisfying ending because it's answering all the questions you have as you're watching it. So that's, you know, that was great about it. And yeah, it is a satisfying conclusion. So
it's tricky, you know, like it's storytelling. I know some of you guys are writers too. It's like, well, we could have always supplied more information about what was happening. And so it's a judgment call at the beginning, you know, when you're writing it, like, well, if I leave all this out, like having her dig the holes and place the safes, you know, like, are people going to figure it out? And so, you know, you have to play to your own tastes. Like I like leaving people to work at it, because that is what I feel like is a great movie to me, is where you go, oh yeah. So
yeah, but I guess
I agree.
I was gonna say I think you pleased Ralph because you didn't have a lot of backstory.
No, but it must be a hard thing to do because you wrote it, so you understood. I think you understood what you were, you know, the solutions and all that. So, but you
I hope he understood it, Ralph.
What I'm saying, but as a viewer, you know, I don't have all your inside information. So you also have to get me to understand what you understood.
Yeah.
And that's a tricky line to kind of, you know.
Absolutely. It's almost like a guess, you know, because definitely could have given more, you know, and filled it in. But if Michelle said you don't like the backstory, I don't like backstory either. I don't know why when you watch an action movie, you have to slow down for 10 minutes and play the piano. And ever since I left, I've never been in love before again.
We talk about it all the time, the difference between taking the Pelham 74 and the new Pelham.
Oh yeah.
You had no backstory with Walter Matthau. With Washington, you knew everything. He's supposed to bring the milk home to his wife. He's got the 2 daughters, right? It's just like, I don't need that.
He's got the previous corruption issue.
I got the corruption thing.
Like, so care more about it.
Yeah. So
and when a whole movie is spoon fed to you, you know, one of the things I liked about your film is and the guys, you all will get this. You have to pay attention to it.
Mm-hmm.
Like when we were first watching it, if somebody had to go to the bathroom, you had to pause. If somebody wanted to get a snack, you had to pause because you have to pay attention to it. If you don't, you know, you don't know what you're going to miss. And that's what I like about movies. Mm-hmm. It's almost disappointing when you can kind of watch a movie and clean the living room at the same time. You know, you weren't thinking as much.
Well, not that we would ever do that.
Well, I mean, we stop teasing Tenet. We stop picking on Tenet. My God, I mean, this is like, we can't get off Tenet.
Really appreciate it. It comes up every podcast.
I really appreciated that you didn't insult the intelligence of the audience by giving too much. Particularly, it is a mystery. I think, you know, maybe some of the people here were correct that they would have looked at the film differently if they'd seen the trailer first. But I really think you gave all you needed. And you could only do this in an indie film like you made. I'm assuming you self-financed this. You didn't go through a real production company or anything, because no one would ever let you get by without, explaining more of it and making all the characters more likable.
Yeah.
Congratulations on this film. But you were not insulting my intelligence at all if you would have just had a little bit more, a little skosh more
blood
information.
Oh, blood?
A scotch.
A scotch. I love it.
Well, again, Debbie, let me ask you, did you see the trailer before you watched the film?
No, we did not see that.
I'm not saying that you have to, but it does make you kind of look at it and go, ooh, I got to watch out for that.
Yeah.
Okay. Everything becomes important. I mean, it wasn't, you kind of, once the map thing came up and the map, you realized, okay, you have to kind of figure out geography, where people are. And it causes you to kind of sit up and pay attention a little bit.
I would have paused the notes. Every time they showed the note, I would have paused it so I could read it.
Right.
What came out of those notes. Yeah. In hindsight, I went on a question and answer site about this movie. And they were asking all these questions about certain things that happened, and people gave the answers, and it was really interesting. So it makes me want to watch it again, knowing what I know now.
The little weird trick, the double hole, the two safe holes.
Yeah.
That was a little bit of you kind of threw it off a little bit, because there was no obvious two holes. And I'm trying to figure out, that guy is buried under there. How come they're not seeing him? Right. And then didn't realize it's the two holes. So
I assumed they had been inverted.
That's a Tenet reference, just so you know.
So, I mean, but it's, again, very satisfying when it all kind of unraveled and you realize the ultimate plan, what ended up happening.
Oh, and when she pulled the cameras out, I thought, oh my God, that's so genius. You know what I mean? And then I liked the shot where she's got the camera in her jacket and is running. And you see it with the zipper on each side.
Yeah.
That was a really cool shot. I have one quick question, because I wasn't sure. So when she's sitting on the bed at the end, when you're sort of getting, and she's looking at the thing and she's written this note to her daughter in case blah, blah, blah. And she's got this restraining order.
Yeah.
Who was the restraining? Was she restrained?
The guy, I think the guy with the tattoo on his face.
Yeah. That's her.
But then how did she, I thought of that, but then how come she said meet me at, she said meet me because.
He was the one that made her deaf, right?
Yeah.
He made her deaf,
let me tell you, that was kind of weird.
Yeah.
When he pulled that thing off and had her fate tattooed, I was like, that's really horrible.
Weird in a good way.
Added to the creep factor, yeah.
Yeah. Face tattoos, that's a real career choice,
That's awesome. On top of it, it's a prison face tattoo. So it's pretty
yeah.
So did you think of getting Mike Tyson for that role?
Oh, that would have been great. I mean, I don't know how important it is, but I mean, they're kind of married actually, or he kind of kidnapped her, and
it's definitely clear that it was him that was causing her trouble, and I think made her deaf.
Well, it says he made her deaf.
Yeah.
Right?
Was he also the father of the child?
No,
he wasn't,
because he's been locked up for 9 years, and the kid.
That's right.
Okay.
How old was the kid?
She was just younger than 9.
She was, I think, 4 or 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so she was messing around on him.
All right. There's a couple specific questions I want to ask, but Drew, do you have anything you want to any questions about the film or anything else you want to ask about before we?
Well, yeah. I mean, like I said before, this is such an ambitious script. So you write the script, you find the last lake in Minnesota, you shoot the movie, then you go to the edit, which is my favorite part because you get to sit in the dark and eat candy, and that's where the story. That's where the story really. It's like, now this is the story that we're going to tell. Like, you believed in the script, you believed in that. When did you know this is going to work? Did you always know from the beginning when you wrote it? There's no wrong answer to this question. I'm just genuinely curious. Is there a part of the process where you go, I think we're going to pull this off?
Was there ever a point?
I think it felt pretty close. Like, you're up there in the woods just shooting people running around. You're like, is this ever going to be a movie?
Yeah.
I get that.
Listen,
Wyatt
and you
actually storyboards everything. So, every shot that we shot was storyboarded. Like, it's a binder.
wow.
He walks around with a binder that's filled with everything and organizes every day for what our shots are and crosses off. So, you know, we knew what the movie was going to look like and be like, but it was about how the story was going to be able to be communicated to the audience, I think.
Well, again, you're super close to it. And in an edit session, when everybody's there, you guys all get what's going on. But the perspective, like with a regular, now I don't believe you guys probably didn't do like focus group screening stuff, right? Did anybody? Did you do any of that with an independent
A
film?
little bit, yeah.
A little bit?
Yeah.
Well, Wyatt, along those same lines with our movie, people enjoyed it once they figured out what they were looking at.
Yeah.
We were in a ton of film festivals, and every festival I would attend, wherever it was in the country, and we would gauge what people are reacting, and we recut the beginning of the film 4 times in order to bring people into it earlier.
Now, is that just by watching them, Sean, or did you talk to them after you saw it?
Just by watching them.
Yeah.
You know, you could tell because there's a lot of comedy in the movie.
Yeah.
And if they were laughing, that means they understood what was going on, because
Okay.
it wasn't like obvious humor. You know, but we could tell when people got in. You could just sit in the audience. You could see now they're in it.
You can see when someone's going, yeah. Wow.
And we were constantly trying to bring that threshold earlier and earlier.
Yeah.
And finally, one of the people who viewed it, director Barry Levinson, looked at the film, and he looked at it and he said, he goes, show the robbery in every angle. And here's the cool thing about Barry Levinson, because you wouldn't expect this. He goes, look at the title sequence of Dawn of the Dead, you know, the remake with the Johnny Cash song. And he goes, make your opening like that. Everything gritty, and show it, make it very ugly so that people get a taste of what they're looking at, and then start it. And that's exactly
zombies.
what working on.
Zombies are always good in a movie.
Well, the conceit of this film is fantastic. I mean, this, you know, the idea of stories overlapping and going back and seeing from different perspectives. It's a nice conceit.
I love that.
Yeah, but I want to say one thing too, Wyatt. I did not realize the movie was a mystery until he went into the car and got those pictures and the camera didn't see what he was looking at. I'm like, he's withholding. This is a mystery. You know, and showing everything else. He's
I have to get to my one bone pick about that scene.
Okay. But to me, that's when
I'm sorry about this. I'm sorry I have to do this.
You got to do it. We're ready.
I'm a big Polaroid guy. Okay, I own Polaroid cameras.
Here we
no
go.
way, unless you guys shot a zillion times, there's no way to get perfect exposures of Polaroids like that are going to line up exactly. You're going to have one with a big white flash. The thing's going to be cracked. So what's the trick there? Did you guys fake those? Those are fake. Come on.
Yeah, well, I'm also a big Polaroid person. And so this was my old Polaroid camera from like when I did continuity, like when I was 20 years old.
Okay.
And it still had film in it because you can't really get film. So you take the pictures and it wouldn't work at all because the camera, I don't know what was wrong with it. But then we had, those are basically like paper printouts of the pictures that we then like boosted.
I do it. There's no way. Yeah. You keep out Polaroid film, by the way.
Maybe she was just better at it than you.
No, that's the beauty of Polaroids. Polaroids, each one is different. So, but
and
that was
Sean's off the podcast.
Thanks for explaining that. I can now rest easy. So, and by the way, you can get Polaroid film.
They're making Polaroid cameras again.
Impossible Project's been making it for a few years now, and I got them for my cameras, and you can still.
Wyatt, I have a question
for the sequel.
I have a question.
Holiday weekend.
One of the hot topics on the message board that I was on was at the end of the movie when she was in the boat and she had her back to the guy.
Yeah.
And he shot her. She responded like she was looking at him, and that was the complaint in the message board, that they said she should have been facing the other way. That's the only way she would know because she's deaf.
Yeah. Yes.
Do you? I mean, is that something that, in hindsight, or do you have an answer for that? Because I want to write it on the message board.
John wants to look like the smart one on the message board.
We talked, at a certain point, you let your actor go, sort of. And, Maya and I talked a lot about not that part, but remember when Ben's car first shows up and she's at the back of the trunk of her car, and all of a sudden she looks back because she hears him coming. And we determined that, it was like this disturbance, or, it was like vibrations. So we talked about it a lot, and we shot that part before we did the boat stuff. So I guess I kind of let Maya go in terms of like, well, she's a solid professional. She's an amazing actor, I think. Like she could tell all this stuff with just her face that was going on in the script. And so, and I guess, this is up to you to decide. It's out of our hands. But at a certain point, like you got to trust that she has this whole story worked out. She's the director of this story. And that she's got it worked out. So maybe she's peeking through her hair, or she has a way of seeing when the blank goes off.
Okay, Wyatt. So I'll let him know that you're really not sure. I totally get it.
We got to get her in.
Are you talking about the long shot when she gets shot in the back in the long shot?
Because she's not facing him.
Oh, right? I see. How would you know when that's
right? And the fake blood is in her back.
I get it. Well, she figured it out.
But so maybe my answer was she's not completely deaf. She could hear the shot go.
Yeah, I was about to say most deaf people are not totally it's not totally silence.
But she was a hearing person before whatever he did to her.
That's right.
At one point. So,
listen, Ralph, it sounds like Sean has shot at a lot of deaf people, so I guess we'll have to trust his experience about the subject.
Okay, I got one.
No judgment.
This isn't
it's hilarious when they're completely deaf because it comes as a total surprise.
This is a question, not a nitpick. I saw the balloon come up. I guess that's where the safe is.
Yeah, connected to the safe.
The little toy that ends up in the water. It's a daughter's toy, I guess.
Right.
Was that also tied to the boat to know where the boat was, or was that just floating because it came out of the boat?
It was in the boat, right?
Okay.
It was in the boat.
Okay, so the balloon is the one that I know the balloon was the safe. I got that, but I thought maybe that boat was sort of signifying where
it's just a symbol, like for that her daughter's life has risen to the top, and this other boat, the bad guy, is sank to the bottom. And
not backstory, but symbolism.
I did like the timing of the balloon coming up. I thought the timing of the balloon was great.
Yeah,
I didn't know that the balloon was with the safe. I totally missed that because I assumed that the safe she had in the boat was the fake safe. You know what I mean? And she was drawing him out. I totally missed that.
And you saw it twice,
Wojo. John. What?
You watched it twice.
Shut up.
I mean, come on.
Wojo, you should watch Jaws. It's like the barrels.
Wyatt, did you have to cut anything out that just broke your heart to cut it out, or was this the movie that you wanted? This was it.
Like Megan says, we have storyboards, so like everybody's always shocked, but we never have extra shots. So it's
nothing
just
extra.
That's amazing. That's amazing. How does that happen?
Last scene, I was expecting some conversation. You hit us over the head with "what a weekend." I'm like, oh god. Okay. I thought they'd have some kind of what was gonna. I was curious about what happened to those two. Did they end up together? You know what I mean?
After the fade to black? What's the story after?
Yeah, like anything about that, because he was, like you said, he was such a doofus. Are you okay? I mean, she saved his life like 3 times, and he's asking her, "Are you okay?"
Well, she set the whole thing up because she's clearly smarter.
And she's getting the what are they called? The ear
cochlear
implants. So as soon as she can hear, and as a lawyer, she's done with Ben.
Yeah, he's out of there.
Well, Ben screwed up her whole plan. Ben was, he messed it all up for her. I mean, you got to figure she's planned this thing for 9 years, and all of a sudden this guy comes in, can't build a tent.
She kept doing this.
Dry crackers.
Is out of gas.
The dry crackers were what were dry. The dry crackers he was eating was just dry.
With the cheese whiz.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Putting
that tent together.
I love how he always is trying to save her. He's always supposed to be this hero.
Never did it. Yeah.
I also liked at the beginning, before everything really happened, he's sitting there eating his crackers. He's very like with the pinky up. He's like, it's like he's, getting ready to pick up a cup of tea and
one with nature in his half-built tent.
But you had us from the beginning when the character Ben is trying to set this tent up and screwing it up. I said to Brad, "Oh, this is so realistic." And then when he pulls out the thing to pump up the mattress,
he's blowing into it. That was funny.
I mean, that's so typical. That's something that would really happen, and it was
Megan and I, that's based on real life. We're really not the camping type. We have the 40.
Oh, that's you guys?
Well, you met
Megan in the back of the
trunk?
trunk?
Was so real. Oh.
That was so funny.
Sean's idea of camping is what, Sean?
Is dressing up like Oscar Wilde and singing Noel Coward songs.
Nice.
Well, my idea of camping is going to a hotel that doesn't have room service. That's about as close as I get. I just no, I don't want to camp. I have no desire to camp. I went with Girl Scouts and that was enough.
Well, Minnesota has all those mosquitoes, right? And those little insects that bite you.
Yeah, it was wild.
We actually, you know, we're from Minnesota, so we know when to shoot movies in Minnesota. And I think the first day we were there location scouting, it was just clouds of mosquitoes. But then by the time we started shooting 3 days later or something, they were gone. So yeah, there's like a window for shooting in the woods in Minnesota when it's ideal. So
how long has this film been out? How long you guys been? You got any projects going on now? What's happening now?
Yeah, we premiered on 3-day weekend last year at Cinequest Film Festival, which is last March, and actually we got our first screening in, and then they shut down the festival, so we missed our last screening.
What a horrible time to get a movie released. I had a book out in July. It killed, you know, I wouldn't say.
I know, and then it has been crazy, and then it launched on Showtime this past fall, and so it's.
Oh, you made Showtime. That's excellent.
Yeah. They don't take many films, especially in this budget range.
Right.
Well, no, you know what? It looked like that didn't look like a cheap film. You guys did a nice job with
the money on.
Technically, it looked fantastic. No, really, it looked like a nice, you know.
That's great.
You see some of these independent films, and they look independent, right? They look really, you know, scratchy and all that.
I think that's the benefit of being a little older and making films is that you have these relationships with people that are, you know, professionals, and they want to work with you because it's exciting to work on a feature film with people you like, and it's about building those relationships and having people that really know their stuff working on your project. So we're lucky that way.
So true.
Wyatt, Megan, what did you learn from making this film?
What did we learn? Anything? We can't learn anything anymore.
Never shoot in the woods again.
I guess I learned, like for production wise, how beneficial it is to all be together and create this like vibe on the set. It was critical. It could have gone so south, so fast, you know, with all these like anything could have tipped them over into like, this job sucks.
Megan is a professional. She really like makes it possible because she's so experienced, and any number of things could have like swamped the production, like the fact that there were no stunt people on this movie, and all the actors were like, so no stunts, doing our own stunts. And you're like, you're gonna. Maya learned to drive an ATV. She had never driven a speedboat. So
that jump into the back of the truck, he had to do himself.
We did it in pieces, but
movie magic. All right. Still, he had to jump in the back of the truck, right? I mean, that had to happen.
Well, sure. I have a question. I don't have to tell you two, as avid fans of this podcast, I'm sure you know that we bring movies to share that we love.
Oh yeah.
Or that we loved the first time we saw them 20 years ago. Now we feel differently about them. It varies.
Yeah. But, Spitfire girl.
But so I don't even mean like what's your favorite, who influenced you. What are the movies that you like, that you think this is the best kind of storytelling, filmmaking, whatever it is. What are the ones that really made an impression on you?
I don't know. Like do you know the movie La Samurai?
Sure. Yes.
That's kind of like this movie. I mean, in a vastly different scale, but that has very little dialogue, and you just watch the story and it unfolds. But mention the Zack Snyder Dawn of the Dead. I mean, that is an incredible, like, that's what you're always trying to do in movies, right? It's like, what the is happening? Oh my God, what's coming at us next? So that, you know, what you're trying to do is get the audience to be on a ride that they don't know where it's going, you know. And it's not easy to achieve at all. Like, it's only been it's only been done about 12 times in history, I think. Like,
did you watch all the did you pick The Devil Knows Before the Devil Knows You're Dead is one of these too, where they show a scene and they backtrack and show it from 3 different places.
Oh yeah.
You mentioned
I love that.
I think
it's in Pulp Fiction, too. The Mystery Train by Jim Jarmusch. Remember that one with the?
Oh, I loved Mystery Train. That was my favorite film the year it came out, like 1990 or something.
And they did a great thing there that I couldn't quite figure out with this story, but they would have one night turned into the next day, and then that day became night, and then you heard this gunshot. So it
was the gunshot.
Same day, but you didn't know it was the same day. It was the different. It seemed like the next day, but
that was such a masterful film.
So do you go and write something completely different after this intricate cube thing that you built? You go and do something like a romantic comedy? I was going
to say a rom-com in French.
Right.
Actually, we just did a rom-com. Yes, it's premiering right now.
Where is it premiering?
Cinequest Film Festival right now.
Nice.
It's called Hollywood Fringe, and
nice.
for that as well. So
it's kind of it's got a little bit of the complicated stuff in it. It's a site-specific play that people are putting on for the Fringe, and I don't know, a site-specific play is like a play that actually takes place in the place where it would take place, and then you bring the audience into a high school or whatever.
Oh, I see.
So it's another kind of meta story, but it is a comedy.
Did you shoot it during COVID?
No, we shot it right before. Yeah. Okay. So we got in under that. We haven't shot anything during COVID.
But COVID has affected us in terms of we've almost never seen either one of these two films with an audience. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah, kind of crushing.
So yeah,
it's terrible.
And it's true that you do learn when you watch with an audience, like, oh, now they're into it. Right now they're into it. But we've all suffered in some way. Or some multiple ways.
Yeah.
Wyatt, one thing that was funny about our film, because it was also a mystery, is that people would always say they figured out who did it. They said, "Oh, I figured it out." But if you're sitting in the audience with them, you'll hear them say, "He did it, she did it, he did it." He did
right.
It.
Everybody.
Eventually, are going to guess it right because they did guess that person, but they guessed everybody else. Right. And the director of our film was like, "They did not figure it out. They were just guessing." But I tell you, I can imagine your disappointment in not being able to see this film with audiences and see them get into it. And to me, really, that aha moment was when you showed those Polaroids. But then there was another thing. I think it was when the crossbow or the bow hit the thing. And I think I turned to my wife and I said, "There's more than one guy. This isn't all the same person."
Nice.
Because it was sort of like once I figured out that you were withholding information, I was, suddenly it sort of kicked my mind into look at the film at a different level than it was.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you another film I really liked that I don't know if you saw it. Did you ever see Primer?
Yes. Primer we talk about every
he
day.
He says the word primer every day. That's really true.
Message boards on Primer. They're all like your film. They're message boards where people try to explain what happened. But to me, a film like Primer, and doesn't necessarily need to be explained. I mean, it was a film they shot for $5,000.
Yeah.
And everybody in the film seems to know what they're talking about. So it doesn't matter whether we understand it. It's only that they understand it, and we're on this journey with them.
Yeah.
So this was, in a sense, your film reminded me of Primer. And Primer is sort of a backwards, forwards in time, because you don't really know, because at the characters, there's lots of the characters, they don't even know where they are at any specific moment or where they are in this cycle, So I really enjoyed this film. I really liked, it's a very bold step to take a perspective film like this, and I'm very glad you got on Showtime. In the case of our film, people loved it in the festival circuit. The mainstream people didn't have the patience for it, so I hope
Megan, do you guys like Young Frankenstein? Do you guys like Young Frankenstein?
I do.
Because we've got over 14,000 hits on Young Frankenstein for some reason. I don't know why.
Everybody thinks they're going to the movie. They get pissed off. They go, get to the movie already. Stop talking.
Hey,
Sorry.
We're gonna change the podcast name to Young Frankenstein.
Yippee-Ki-Yay, Mother Frankenstein.
All right, we usually
call Megan. Right, we're going to call this film 3-Day Weekend Watch, and then in parentheses, like asterisk, watch for free on YouTube. So don't be surprised.
So we'll get a lot of hits.
But
a lot of hits.
I love it. Free.
Well, look, we can't listen. But
first of all, we can't thank you enough for reaching out on the Twitter to Woj Show
on the Twitter.
and getting on the podcast. I mean, did you actually watch one of these shows? That's how you got it? Was it just
we watched multiple episodes?
Whoa!
Good.
My God.
You still came on. Wow.
We should have them on every week.
You must want some PR, Wyatt.
Well, thank you for that. And thanks for joining us.
This was great.
We love
it was really fun
the inside
talking.
baseball stuff about the film. It's always nice to talk to filmmakers who actually get
and when
things
your next
done.
film's out, hit me up on the Twitter.
Get it up on Twitter.
We'll get you back on.
The Facebook.
Yeah. So again, name that new film that you just put out, or that's out.
Hollywood Fringe.
Hollywood Fringe. Okay.
Yeah.
And come back anytime.
On too, and Michelle, I really appreciate you organizing this whole thing. So
I just sent an email. I mean, it took so long. I had storyboards and I had pitches and
Ralph is really the one who makes the magic happen. Okay, so let's just call it.
It's a lot of work. None of us realize how much work is put into this podcast.
He's had to watch about 16 movies this weekend for all his podcasts. So this was.
Well, I think it's actually pretty slickly produced. So the episode.
Thank you, Wyatt. I appreciate it.
Not just saying that.
Hey, Megan and Wyatt, I want to say.
Listen, Wyatt, it's an intricate story that I put together every week, and I try to direct people where they need to go. And
all kinds of hidden pieces.
You should see what's on my wall. All these lines to everything going on. It's all it's a piece of cake, and I love doing it. I wouldn't do it if I didn't like it. So, and it's great. It's great meeting people like you guys. I love to talk about the film. And I hope other people see it because we're. Is it still on Showtime? Is it still up there?
Yeah, we watched it
so
today.
That's a streaming service, isn't it? Showtime anytime?
Yes, you can watch it on Showtime anytime, or else you can rent it on Amazon too. So
excellent.
Oh, yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah. Well,
we hope it gets some good play. Yep.
Thank you so much.
Talking to you.
This has been fun.
Thank you very much.
We'll have you on again. You guys are great.
Okay.
Appreciate it. Good luck. Good luck with the filmmaking.